You know, I try to do one new thing every day. Keeps things interesting and makes it so my life's never boring. Today I'm going to learn how to play an instrument. Alright, fine. You know what? I'll go back to making pancakes. Fine. You know what? Fuck originality. Fuck trying new things. From this moment forward, I vow to never have a new or original idea ever again. I'll never go anywhere or do anything ever. I'll just stand here and do nothing. This is better.
Super Mario! Ever heard of him? If not, what rock are you living under?
Recently, I conducted a survey asking if people had ever heard of Mario. The results? 50% of people said yes, and the other 50% said, "What the hell are you doing? Get out of my house." It's not a no.
The Super Mario franchise is living proof that parents do indeed pick favorites. Nintendo plasters this guy everywhere and on anything they can. It's ridiculous. But I mean, it's not like it's not well deserved. The Mario franchise is one of the highest grossing media franchises of all time. Nintendo puts Mario everywhere because people love Mario. You can grab any of his games and there's a good chance you'll have a stupid smile on your face for the next 5 hours. Whether it's a 2D platformer, a 3D platformer, a party, a race, a sport, or a whatever, Mario games are almost always guaranteed to provide you with a good time. Even when they shouldn't.
Super Mario 3D Land and Super Mario 3D World. These are good games. Big surprise, they're Mario games. I'd be concerned if they weren't. But when they first came out, many fans weren't all that impressed by them. So, let me set the stage.
When 1996 rolled around, gaming was entering a new age. Nintendo just vomited out their brand new console, the Nintendo 64, and with it, Super Mario 64, and the most creative naming convention of all time. But this game was revolutionary. For the first time ever, people got to see true 3D graphics and gameplay, and wow, Mario looks derpy! However, this game would single-handedly pave the way for future 3D platformers, and 3D gaming as a whole. For the most part, the game still holds up pretty well. I mean, it's still dated in some areas, the controls can be pretty clunky and the camera doesn't always cooperate, but this is still a fun game to revisit from time to time. But anyways, 2001 pulls up and Nintendo stumbles onto the scene with the GameCube. It did okay. But what's really important is that Nintendo gave the world Super Mario Sunshine, bringing 3D Mario to the next level with better graphics, better music, and a more fluid gameplay experience. Literally. Mario has a water jetpack in this game. It's not as iconic or well-loved as 64, but it's still pretty beloved by most people. Then, in 2006, Nintendo graced the world with the Wii. It did okay. But then, they did something insane. They released this beautiful, sweeping orchestral album with songs powerful enough to bring tears to even the most emotionally closed. It also came with a pretty fun 3D Mario game too. And then they did something even more nuts. That being the exact same thing, but again. So now at this point we have 4 3D Mario games, 3 of which play wildly different from each other, and the other being a sequel to the greatest Mario game ever created. Around the same time, Nintendo started releasing 2D Mario platformers again too. 2006 also saw the release of New Super Mario Bros. And a return to 2D Mario after a 14-year hiatus. Nintendo would continue the New Super Mario Bros. Series over the next 13 years, and they're perfectly serviceable, albeit a little bit samey. But anyways, in 2011, Nintendo releases their latest handheld console, the Nintendo 3DS. With it, they promise fans a new 3D Mario game to be coming to the system. That game is revealed to be Super Mario 3D Land, and it plays like a sort of cross between a 2D Mario game and a 3D Mario game, but with the more generic art direction of the 2D games. But in 2012, Nintendo drops their new home console, the Wii U. It did bad. It did not do great. But even so, Mario fans are eager for a new 3D Mario game. Nintendo promises that one's coming, and and it's just a 3DS game, but again, great.
I mean, the game didn't look bad, but many fans were disappointed in how bland it looked. Usually 3D Mario games are so creative and varied, but this just looked as basic as you could get. Especially since it was so damn similar to the 3DS game. Or was it? Well, that's what I'm here to figure out today. Strap yourselves in, because we got a real clash of the titans here. We got a list of categories to compare these games in, and in the end, hopefully we'll know which one's better. It's a fucking Mario game, what are you talking about?
Mario games have never been one to tell compelling stories. If you come into a Mario game expecting a super deep and complex plot with lots of twists and turns, just stop. Rescue the chick from the bad guy, it's storytelling 101, as basic of a story as you can get. Every mainline Mario game features some form of abduction, and these two games are no exception to that. 3D Land has you rescuing Peach for the zillionth time. I can't wait for the game where Mario hears that Peach got kidnapped and instead of having a heart attack, he just rolls his eyes and walks off. To be fair, 3D World changes up things slightly from the norm, having you rescue these... wait, what are they called? Sprixies, but really it's not significant enough to make a huge impact. Regardless, I'll still give the point to 3D World. As previously stated, these games play like a mix between a 2D and a 3D game. What this means is that where in previous 3D Mario games you had more open levels and full control over the camera, in these games the camera is in a fixed position and the levels are much more linear. And unlike other 3D Mario games, the levels in these games have a definitive start and end point. Really what it is a 2D Mario level with a Z-axis. Now at first glance, this may not sound as fun or as interesting as any of these other games, but in reality, the level-based gameplay allows for the developers to basically make whatever they want without having to uphold to any sort of logic. Therefore, to introduce a new gimmick at the start of the level, then develop that gimmick and use it in unique ways, and then end the level. And then in the next level, it'll be something completely different. This is a level where you ride a giant seesaw to the end, this is a level where you walk on cookies, and this is a level where you go through a Japanese-inspired palace with a helicopter on your head, and this is a level where you ride a giant block with smiley faces on it. Like, these games don't ever stay in one place for very long. Control-wise, these games are basically the same thing. You got the same moves in both games, so your time in each is going to be pretty similar. That being said, I'd say 3D World's level concepts are just a bit more varied and interesting than 3D Land's. It's not too much of a difference though, both games feel really good to play and are pretty fun in general. But I'm still giving the point to 3D World. In terms of collectibles, Super Mario 3D Land features 3-star medals hidden throughout each stage. Usually they're off to the side and feature a tricky platforming challenge to collect or require some exploration to find. Super Mario 3D World features 3 green stars hidden throughout each stage. Usually they're off to the side and feature a tricky platforming challenge to collect or require some exploration to find. Wait, what? Yeah, these are pretty much the exact same damn thing. And both games require you to collect a certain amount to progress too. But that's really it in terms of hidden collectibles. Except in 3D World there's also a stamp which, oh wow, cool, a stamp, that's so interesting and useful. They really don't do anything outside of sort of just existing. In the Wii U version of the game, you could use them on Miiverse, Nintendo's own social network, which has been shut down since 2017. But in the Switch version, you can just sort of slap them down in the camera mode. Really, they just serve as sort of a 4th green star. However, the fact that they exist only in 3D World means that technically the game has more to do in terms of collectibles compared to 3D Land, so there's another point in its favor.
Now when I say originality, I mean how many new things do these games introduce that had never been seen in the Mario franchise prior? What do these games do to separate themselves from other Mario games?
Well, let's see. In terms of enemies, Super Mario 3D Land doesn't really have a lot going for it. There are some new enemies here, but most of the time the most interesting the enemies get just amounts to having a tail thrown on them. And I mean, there are some interesting new level gimmicks here, but again, nothing really sticks out in my mind. There's not even any new power-ups here. Sure, they brought back the Tanuki Leaf after 23 years, but all of these power-ups are old. The whole game just sort of feels like you've seen it all before, even if you actually haven't. It's not bad, but there's not really one thing that's super memorable about it. Mario 3D World, on the other hand, actually has some memorable new enemies. You got these rats, these birds, these rock guys, and these evil spring dudes, just to name a few. And the level themes feel a lot more unique, too. There's carnivals, trains, a haunted shipwreck, this castle with the blue lava, this aforementioned Japanese palace. Like, a lot more of this game really sticks out in my mind. Bowser literally builds a theme park in this game. It's ridiculous. And there are actually new power-ups here in the form of the Super Bell and the Double Cherry. The bell turns you into a cat, which lets you climb up walls and do a dive, and the cherry just straight up makes a clone of you. Both of these are super fun and perfect additions to the Mario formula. And of course, who could forget clear pipes? You go on these bad boys and you slide around and move off into the branching pathways. I mean, it's not like amazing or anything, but it is a really cool and fun new thing. This whole game just feels a lot more memorable compared to 3D Land to me. Again, that doesn't make 3D Land a bad game, it's just that 3D World is better. Replay value is one of those things that doesn't necessarily make a game good or bad, but having a lot of reasons to come back to a game definitely doesn't hurt it. Good news is, both of these games are really fun. They're also super easy to come back to because of how simple they are control-wise. I could pop Super Mario 3D Land back in at any time, just play through a few levels, have a good time, and then go do something else. However, there is one thing that gives 3D World a slight edge. Multiplayer. Super Mario 3D World features 4-player multiplayer, which means if you get bored one night with your friends, you can just pop this game in and you're basically guaranteed to have a good time. It's just so fun screwing around with your buddies, playing the game however seriously or casually you want, and that makes the game practically infinitely replayable. The true mark of how much free time you have is whether or not you can get 100% completion in a game. What that means actually varies from game to game, since every game is different in terms of collectibles, objectives, gameplay, side challenges, and, well, everything else. However, both of these games feature a similar completion method. 1, you have to get all the star medals or green stars and stamps in each of their respective games. 2, you have to reach the top of the flagpole on each level, which will turn the flag gold. And 3, you have to beat the game all the way through with each of the characters. Now, this will either sound incredibly daunting or not too bad. And the correct answer is it's both. In 3D Land, after you go through all 8 worlds, you unlock 8 more, which you must beat for 100%. But after you beat the first secret world, you unlock Luigi. So now you have to go back through all 16 worlds as Luigi. Now that's not too bad. It's a lot, but it's still manageable. 3D World, on the other hand, is a fucking nightmare. After you beat all 8 worlds, there are 3 more secret worlds. Now already that doesn't sound as bad as 3D Land, but then you remember that there are 4 fucking characters in this game. Now a workaround you can do to avoid playing through the game 4 times is to go through each of the levels with 4 players in multiplayer, which sounds great, but then after the first secret world you unlock Rosalina as a playable character. Which means that if you want 100%, you will have to play through the game at least twice. And if you can't find 4 friends that want to play through the game with you, then you have to play through the game 5 times at most. And what do you get for going through all that? In both games, your reward for getting 100% is one final level designed to be the hardest in the game.
Yeah, I don't really have the patience to go through all that in Mario 3D World right now. Mario 3D Land, on the other hand, I've already gotten 100% in, as I've just owned the game for longer. So I'm going to give the point to it. Yes, I'm 100% biased here, and no, I have absolutely no shame in that.
The music in Mario 3D Land is pretty good. The main theme is upbeat and jazzy and super catchy, and the rest of the music isn't bad either. I mean, there aren't a lot of different level themes here, but what is here is still a pretty good listen.
Alright, what's up with 3D World?
I mean, do I even need to say anything? This entire soundtrack is phenomenal. The big band, jazzy vibe in every single one of these songs is enough to get you doing more than just tap your foot while you're playing. I don't even know what to say. Just give the game the point. Just give the game the point. Holy shit.
So I mentioned before that, upon release, these games were received as being good, albeit underwhelming. Right off the bat, they just don't look as appealing as the other 3D Mario games. I mean, why play this when you could play this? But with the release of Super Mario Odyssey in 2017 and a return to the more traditional take on 3D Mario, fans have become a lot more appreciative of these games. It's easier to enjoy the level design and gameplay, and the cross between the 2D and 3D styles of gameplay has made it easier for new fans to get a grasp of controlling Mario in 3D before moving on to the more ambitious 3D Mario titles. But with that being said, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say Super Mario 3D World has left a bigger impression on people. I mean, which of these games got a Switch port? Well, this was the biggest waste of time ever. The only thing going through all this did was prove what most people already know. These are the same game. This one just does everything better. 3D Land walked so 3D World could run. 3D World just builds on every idea 3D Land introduced. But again, I feel like I need to reiterate, 3D Land isn't a bad game, it's just 3D World is a more complete experience. I mean, still fun, still worth playing, but this is more fun. So if you're going to play one or the other, play Super Mario 3D World. Me, on the other hand, come to resent doing nothing. Need to do something to spice up my life a little bit. I think I might be ready to try Recorder again.